people just telling me today that this is not my Idaho, this is not what I know, this is not where I live, this is not my people. And from the moment we got here, people just standing outside wanting answers, trying to find their loved ones, making sure they are okay and they are not harmed. We saw several people.
I work at Wetzel Pretzel, and I was washing dishes, and all of a sudden I hear this bat, 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 really loud, and you could tell instantly it was gunfire.
Back-to-back 11 shots, boom, 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 boom.
She was like, there's an active shooter, stay locked down.
You'll see here there's one white SUV behind police tape now with, again, if you've been with us, we reported that it appears to be a bullet hole through the passenger side and driver's side front door.
According to Boise police, mall security video shows Jacob Berquist carrying a weapon in the mall for 40 minutes while in the food court. A security officer, later identified to be Joe Acker, spoke with Berquist. As Berquist walked away, he turned around, shot, and killed Joe Acker.
She said that, have a good day, and I do the same thing I always do, which is I will when I see you. And then she gave me a kiss.
Joe was a security guard at the Boise Town Square Mall. When police say she died, protecting people as she tried to stop the gunman on Monday.
I cannot stress enough how traumatic this event is for the community at large, as well as for those that were witnesses or the families of those involved are involved themselves.
We stand in memory tonight of those two innocents, Joe Acker, Roberto Padilla Arguelles, and of course, all who suffered the trauma of the experience here at the mall.
That's it. And with moments to spare, Air Force One arrived from the east. While we almost did, it was a moment 5-year-old Tate and her cousin Piper.
The president puts a stop in Boise on his visit to the west. Air Force One coming in right now.
I've seen a couple of Air Force 1 and 2 landings, and it's always a majestic sight. There is the President of the United States touching down at Gowan Field.
Mark, you just need to yell loudly.
Yeah, I could.
President Biden, President Biden.
I know. There is the President of the United States making his way down off of Air Force One.
Andrew, set the scene for us there. How big of a crowd would you say is there now?
There was a protest at St. Luke's outside Meridian that was reported at 1,300. This is definitely bigger than that. It's hard to count because it's so long. The last we saw him right before we left, he was speaking with Governor Brad Little as well as some NIFC officials, and they're actually just walking the governor through some of the equipment that the wildland firefighters use.
And his 2 hours in Boise, Idaho is over.
Does the president have to make sure his tray table is in the upright and locked position?
Probably not. I'm guessing he can do whatever he wants with his tray table.
And it appears that the wheels
Thanks for coming, President Biden. Have a nice trip and come back often. Come back soon. And fasten your seatbelt, President Biden.
Threatened dozens of homes and challenged stretch resources. Many homeowners along Hill Road feared this exact scenario. Boise and Eagle fire chiefs admit people there live in a fire coverage gap. So there really has been a fire coverage gap.
There has. It still continues to be an area that's a gap in coverage, as we've seen with development going on.
Since being annexed into the city in 2016, homeowners pay taxes for Boise Fire, but don't have equal protection. The Northwest Neighborhood Association argues that isn't fair.
If you can't afford to provide the infrastructure at the time development occurs, you should not be annexing.
Motocross meeting right now. If you want to do motocross, get to the NFC tent.
They're the top paddlers in the world.
Motocross meeting at the NFC tent. Motocross meeting.
And they come from all over just to take a shot at the Payette River.
The highest level of competition in whitewater kayaking.
And each other.
Yeah, certainly are some risks involved.
Among the crowd, there's some locals.
I'm from Meridian, Idaho.
I'm from Boise.
And one honorary Idahoan, Sage Donnelly.
And I've spent a lot of summers here. I think the first time I ran the North Fork, I was 11.
Originally from Carson City, Sage's love for paddling was crafted by the North Fork's curves. And this weekend isn't just another event, it's a homecoming.
Watching her dad deal with dementia has been almost as difficult for Deborah. She says it's been a slow decline for the last 5 years or so.
I forgot a lot about it.
I know.
Huh?
I know.
Which is why this morning is almost as big a day for Deborah.
Hey, Dad!
Hugh is one of 6 Treasure Valley veterans taking part in this year's Dream Flight. Today, it's a 20-minute ride around the Weiser Airport in a 1942 Boeing Stearman biplane. And you'd think after a dangerous deployment in the exposed front of a bomber would make someone want to stay away from planes. Not Hugh.
Well, he made planes.
After the war, Hugh went back to work for Boeing and helped build the 747 in the 1960s. But even those memories seem too distant for Hugh.
It sits high above the South Fork of the Payette River and Highway 17 near Garden Valley. The Bureau of Land Management escorted us up the steep, narrow trail, where the water still trickles down and the temperature still steamy hot. But a lot has changed since the Bureau of Land Management temporarily pulled the plug on Skinny Dipper Hot Springs.
There's a reason people pull over and slow down in the middle of West Point Road in the middle of Gooding County.
You're in Wendell, Idaho, out in the middle of nowhere.
This middle of nowhere, in the middle of winter, becomes the center of attention
See the birds?
for avid and amateur bird watchers.
I just think they're such majestic creatures.
As all eyes, whether with the aid of a cell phone screen or the eyepiece of a longer lens,
I'm not real good with binoculars. There we go.
focus on the middle of this field, on a bunch of bald eagles balanced on these cottonwood branches.
Outside this cathedral of consistency, the perennial success of the Boise State football program often raises the question, how do they do it? Over the last 2 decades, players have left,
you guys keep rearranging each week,
and coaches have changed. But if you look between all the turnover, you will notice a few full circle moments that connect it all. Prior to the 1998 campaign,
going clear back to when I grew up in Pocatello,
an Idahoan named Dirk Cutter was appointed the head coach at Boise State.
On Labor Day, Brittany Strong was out on Indian Creek in Kuna with her 11-year-old son, Asher.
So they're used to swimming in this current right here. And we float almost every day in the summer. My kids are very used to this water, and they're very used to wearing life jackets.
But Asher got tangled up in a rope in the strong current.
My foot got stuck as I was climbing up, and I fell back, and I couldn't get my foot out.
And I was like, Asher, come on, let go. And he couldn't let go, and then I noticed it was his foot. And so immediately I dropped my stuff, tried to jump in, and the current was too strong. I couldn't get over. I could not get across. Every time I jumped in, that's when he would panic and kind of go underwater. And that's when Tristan and his brother came over and they saw me, and we were screaming.
Tristan jumped in, fought the current, and swam as hard as he could right to Asher and the rope.
Yeah, it was tangled up in his sandal or foot, one of those two. So I grabbed his foot, like his ankle, and I got the rope and I unhooked the rope. When he was free, he was still trying to he was kind of drifting far right, and we needed to go left, so I kind of had him grab my hand and I threw him closer to the shore.
Ocean surfing and river surfing obviously have their differences. It doesn't mean a ripple effect can't exist between the two.
Bringing surfing to the Olympics is a great thing, and I would consider this an awesome training ground for something like that.
You know, you can be here all day and get maybe 50 to 100 turns in a day.
If I were training to improve my surfing for the ocean, I would definitely come to a spot like this to spend more time on my feet.
In return, the ocean surfing at the Olympics just might help the sport's runoff.
I think it would grow it even more.
Like the one created here, on a river 500 miles away from the closest curl of the Pacific.
There's more and more river waves going in, being implemented everywhere.
Surfing once came to Boise, and it appears it's only a matter of time before Boise flushes a surfer out.
I'm very hopeful that it'll happen, and I'm sure it will. The surf community has been growing tremendously in the past couple of years. I mean, I think it would be amazing to see surfing take that next step into something that can be competitive and a sport that can be enjoyed for everybody to watch and to play and to learn.
What do you think of the housing market right now?
Oh, it's ridiculous.
If you're looking to make conversation with local strangers, one topic that quickly generates an interaction is the current housing market. Some say that the record home prices in the Treasure Valley and across Idaho can be attributed to the growing number of newcomers to Idaho.
They make more money, so they come here, buy all the property, and then there's nothing left for what is home to, or been home for a lot of people.
According to the Boise Regional Realtors Association, the median cost of a home in Ada County is about $523,000. That same data shows that home prices in Boise jumped more than 70% in 4 years, and areas around the City of Trees are seeing comparable increases. It's no secret. Finding a home in Ada or Canyon County is now a major challenge for Idahoans who have lived here for years.
They're known as traffic box art, scattered around downtown Boise, on street corners and sidewalks. Vinyl coverings of art wrapped around what would otherwise be a nondescript utilitarian device that controls our streetlights and traffic signals. Each box tells a different story. Some depict nature and cityscape scenes, others vibrant and playful. Perhaps this one pays tribute to all the restaurants in downtown. While maybe this one, titled Watchers Watching, reminds us you never know who's looking.
And you can get this little glimmer of inspiration, a little bit of color, and they're all so different.
As readers drop off their finished books, Ed Harvey is on the other side of the wall, checking them in. Nearly 3,000 of them, daily.
There were all these checkout due dates here.
But one book in particular caught librarians by surprise last week.
November 8th of 1911, I think, was its last due date. The checkout desk downstairs noticed that it was rather old and it didn't have any current markings. So they looked into it and sent it up to the director, and then kind of went on from there.
New Chronicles of Rebecca, a sequel to Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm by Kate Wiggin, was published in 1907. It was checked out of the old Boise Carnegie Library in 1911, only to be returned 110 years later.
I believe my son has been abducted. I believe somebody took him.
Not a second goes by Brandy does not think about Michael. Even those few moments she's enjoying time with her family or watching her other kids' activities at school, she said she feels some guilt.
There was some jokes made, and I got very emotional. And my beautiful daughter, Mama, it's okay not to live in sadness all the time. Like, she told me that, she's like, it's not good for us to live in sadness all the time. And she's right. And she said, it's not that you're not thinking about him, and we're not thinking about him, but we gotta try, Mama. I said, okay.
While she tries to live in the present more, her desire to find Michael stays strong. She continues to ask everyone to continue to share Michael's story.
So this place for me has been almost better than counseling. I get to come here, my studio mates will check on me and say like, hey, how you doing? And if I need to talk, we can talk. If I don't want to talk, I just work in my corner on my projects.
This environment helps keep Sarah going.
I don't know that I could continue to go to my job if I didn't have this.
But it doesn't filter out the emotions. She captured those with this.
It's a long poem, you guys.
A different medium, a poem of raw emotion.
I am a COVID veteran. This is a different kind of war. A war some don't believe in, a war some mock, a hoax. The trauma is real, the dying is real.
From Idaho's News Channel 7, this is Viewpoint.
And I wonder why we hold on with tears in our eyes.
He burst on the music scene in 1991 with his hit single, I Wonder Why, from his $1.5 million selling self-titled debut album, Curtis Steiger's. The Boise jazz man's long hair lasted 1 album. His career has lasted 30 years and 13 albums, and he's still singing, songwriting, and playing the sax.